Don't these cucumber leaves look terrible? They're diseased and full of aphids. They've been that way for a while. But look over here. It's still producing. Hi, my name is Emily, and today I want to show you an experiment that I've been doing this summer. And in this experiment, as a result, I have learned how a disease and aphid-ridden cucumber plant can keep producing like crazy. Maybe not so much like crazy like it did at the beginning, but it continues to produce, and a lot of that fruit is still healthy. And how is it that it is September 17th right now? September 17th. And I don't think I've ever, and not in the Dallas area either when we were living in the suburbs, because the cucumbers would get aphids really early, so I never had cucumbers much past the middle of August. But even here in southeast Oklahoma, this is the first time I've had cucumbers in September. We're getting pretty darn sick of cucumbers. Look at this, mostly green, mostly not diseased. You can see some residue of aphids, but they're doing pretty well. How is it September, and excuse my toe, how is it September and it's still growing good fruit, even though it's so diseased? Before I go on, I need to tell you that I followed the directions religiously with neem oil to try, because as soon as this thing started producing its first fruit, it was still a pretty small plant, it started producing its first fruit, it started showing signs of powdery mildew, which is it had a little bit of white on the stem and a little bit of white on one of the leaves. Not nearly as bad as it has now, but there was a sign. I was like, oh gosh, it's already diseased. It's already got the powdery mildew, because where we live, everything gets a fungus. And so I had started even before then, okay? When it was little bitty, and when just a transplant, I started spraying it with neem oil, following the directions, and the dadgum thing still got the powdery mildew by the time it had its first fruit. Last year, I did what you're supposed to do, quote unquote, and I started pruning off all of the diseased leaves. And ladies and gentlemen, that's where I think I went wrong. Now, I'm not telling you what you should do in your area, but this year I didn't prune anything. I thought, you know what? I think pruning, when your plant is diseased and you start pruning, you spread the disease. I'm not sure if that's true everywhere, if it's true with all different types of summer crops. But this is the first time, like I said, I've had a cucumber through September giving me decent fruit. Many of these are way overgrown because this is a crazy productive variety that, and I haven't been out here cutting off the old fruit. Usually you have to cut off the old fruit to encourage it to produce, not this. And see, that's the sad. So the first thing I did is I did not prune off the diseased parts. I just let it I just left it alone. And it took a long time for it to start spreading. And it's at the point now where finally it's getting pretty bad. But still, we've got some decent fruit growing. And the second reason is the variety. I believe it is the variety. This is a variety that it's a hybrid variety, and people, hybrid does not mean GMO. Even look at the seed packet. High mowing, organic seeds, against the law to label anything organic that is GMO. Hybrid just means that they bred two or more varieties together with desirable characteristics to come up with a plant that had all of those characteristics. So this is a hybrid that does not require pollination. It is self-pollinating. You see all these teeny tiny baby cucumbers growing. Bees did not make that happen. The ants may have helped a little bit. All the ants that are helping the aphids. Let me see if I can show you some aphids. Oh yeah, I mean it's hard. They're so tiny, and that white thing. But there's aphids covering the entire back of this leaf. The ants help a little bit, but this is I had ants on the other varieties too, the heirloom varieties. they didn't, well, they hardly produced anything. So what is this variety? Socrates F1 cucumber. Socrates F1 cucumber. And I believe the website is highmowingseeds.com, is where I got it from. Now, these are not cheap. See how many seeds are in this packet? And this packet is $10. Yeah, $1 per seed. But let me tell you, worth it, okay? If you, especially if you're going to go buy organic cucumbers in the store, I mean, each cucumber we've eaten has cost probably less than a penny, even if you don't count all the ones that we didn't eat. By the way, this is a dead parsley, in case you're wondering what that mess is. So not only is the Socrates F1 cucumber self-pollinating, but it's extremely prolific. Like I was showing you, all those very old cucumbers that I haven't picked, I mean, it just goes nuts. Still more cucumbers here, a little bigger than babies, but it's very prolific. Self-pollinating, extremely, it wants to keep producing. So if you don't, my theory is, if you leave it alone and don't try to cut off all the diseased places, the disease will spread more slowly and the plant will continue to grow and produce. So that is my big secret that I wanted to share with you about my garden this year. I didn't do a whole lot with the summer garden, but that is one cool thing. It's the middle of September and we're still eating cucumbers. Ah, I've got hair in my mouth. Okay, so yep, High Mowing Seeds, the Socrates F1 cucumber. They seem expensive, but worth it. And so far I've gotten 100% germination rate. So there you go. A totally diseased plant. I think it may have gotten a bacterial mosaic something too, besides the powdery mildew. So it has at least 2 different diseases, but it continues to produce. So if you want a very productive cucumber plant that will give you tons of cucumbers throughout the summer and into the fall, and remember, we are in Oklahoma, southern Oklahoma, so I mean, if you're in Minnesota, forget it. You know, no cucumbers in September in Minnesota, unless you have a greenhouse or something. But regardless, it's still probably, I mean, it's got to be one of the most prolific varieties of cucumber you can get. So if you appreciated this tip, give it a thumbs up and share it with your fellow gardeners. I'll see you for the next video. In the meantime, take care and be well.